In this video, we're going to be talking about the brand new changes to throws in Marvel Crisis Protocol. Hey guys, Rich from Rich Big Gaming. I hope everyone is doing fantastically well. Yes, welcome to this, an MCP video, something that we haven't done for a long time. I believe the last one I did was May, and that just happened to be some of the May updates for all the new character cards. And if you didn't catch the video that I did last, I did do a video last week, I think it was, or earlier this week, and it was talking all about this guy here, Zeratul, who you can see I have actually started to paint up now, but I sort of spoke about very briefly my reasons for why I hadn't been doing any MCP content. So before I get into the throw side of things, I just want to give you a little bit of an update as to why I said what I said in that video, why I'm doing this video now, and if you didn't see that one, kind of where I've been, what I've been doing. So let's start with where I've been, what I've been doing. I have been busy. So I've been busy with work and a whole bunch of other things. So that was the first reason. And the second reason was I wasn't really enjoying playing MCP for the past sort of 6 or 7 months. I did try and I did play a few games, and there was a tournament that I went to down at Tritex, run by John Naylor, and I really enjoyed the day. I took defenders. I went 3-1 or 4-1, I think it was, only losing to a defenders off, and it was the first game that I played for quite some time, and I really enjoyed the day. But on the drive home, what I realised is whilst I enjoyed the day itself, I didn't enjoy the games. Now, I had fun during the games, but I found that it felt pretty stale pretty quickly, and we were just going back to kind of all the old things and the way that MCP works. And, you know, there's a couple of problems that I have or had with MCP, and some of those things are being addressed, it looks like, and I'll get onto that on a different video, but effectively the way that certain scenarios work and other such things. So I didn't even realize it was Ministravaganza this weekend. I was out all weekend. I was away. We had family over, and it wasn't until I started seeing the sort of new leaks and things pop up that it sort of made me go, oh, okay, we'll have a quick look, see what's changing. And I'd heard rumours that there was going to be some fairly significant changes coming, and one of those fairly significant changes was going to be to throws. Now, just to clarify, the change to throws is not what has got me at least interested in and back into this game, and I have actually played a couple of games already, but what's really got me back into it and really interested is more around the extracts. It's more around the extra layer of priority that you get during the game now. So the fact that you know, you get more control over which crisis card you're picking, you get more control over, I suppose, more and less, but you know, there's that extra priority role that I think is really good for the game, really good for the game. As I say, we'll get into that in a different video, but right now MCP has piqued my interest again. It's something that I'm fairly excited about trying and testing and seeing what else is coming out over the next few months, seeing what Sentinels look like. You know, I've always been a big fan of Sentinels. So I thought, well, hey, if I'm getting back into the game and I'm interested in it again, that was my big reason for why I didn't make any videos. It felt disingenuous to make videos for a game that I wasn't really enjoying. And contrary to popular belief, I don't make these videos to make money. I do them because I enjoy the process of it. I enjoy the feedback. I enjoy the interaction with the community. But I wasn't enjoying the game that I was making videos about. So, and it wasn't my job. So why was I making videos? And I think, if I'm being perfectly honest, I did get a little bit of burnout. At one point, sort of earlier this year and last year, at sometimes I was doing 3, 4, 5 videos a week. And to give you an idea of the videos, and especially when we do this sort of, big affiliation breakdowns and things like that, they're not, record for 30 minutes, even though the video, they're never 30 minutes, they're usually an hour long. But, a video being an hour long, that's probably actually 2 or 3 hours of recording. So actually being sat recording it, it's probably 2 or 3 hours prep work. So building and going and getting all of the resources that I need, and building the animated decks and things that I use, and then probably another 2 or 3 hours of video editing at the other side of it. So when I'm looking at a video, and not all videos take that long, right? Some videos really nice, quick and easy. They're a character breakdown, and it's 2 pieces of text, or it's 2 cards, and I can do it without really needing to edit much. But for those longer form videos that we were doing, which are the ones that people seem to enjoy the most, it could take me 8, 9 hours sometimes to actually, from beginning to end. And I think I just got myself into a place where I just couldn't do it anymore. I went quiet for a long, long time. I did put a quick update out a while back. And as I say, I came back last week with my first video in over 6 months. And it is around the new StarCraft game. I'm very, very much looking forward to this. But with these new changes, I'm also very much looking forward to seeing what MCP looks like as well for the rest of 25 and into 26. So, without further ado, and with that over and done with, let's jump in and let's take a look at November 2025 rules update. And in particular, we're looking at throws. And as I say, I will do another video, or a couple of videos, going through some of the other Ministravaganza stuff. But this is, first of all, to let everybody know, for people that maybe haven't seen it or don't quite understand what it means, let everybody know what the changes are. And actually, technically, there hasn't actually been any changes to throws, okay? So the throw mechanic and the way that a throw works, nothing has changed with that whatsoever. What has changed, however, is collision damage. So this is when you perform a throw, if the thing that you are throwing hits something else, this is where the change comes in. So the first part of the text remains, I believe, the same. So when a terrain feature or another character collides with a character, there is a chance for the non-thrown character to dodge out of the way to avoid some or even all of the damage. To do this, the character rolls dice equal to its physical defense, add an additional die to the dodge roll for each critical in the initial roll, standard stuff, and then apply any dice modifications from special rules and effects, so nothing changes there. What has changed is the amount of damage that the thrown object or character, or terrain feature or character does. So the throw itself, nothing has changed, but the collision damage, the damage element has changed. Whereas in the past, you would do damage equal to +1 of the size of the thing that you were throwing. So what does that mean? Well, if you were throwing a size 1 piece of terrain, which is generally, it might be a trash can or a lamppost or whatever else it may be, right? And when I say a trash can, I mean a small, a small trash can, not the big dumpsters. They would do 2 damage. If you could throw something that was size 5, so either a character or you were using the team up card with the Hulks. I think that's still a thing. I do apologise if it isn't. It would do 6 damage. And what you would find is that, and what you will find now is that the cost of doing those things, some of the cost was weighted based on the size of the thing that you could throw. Was it just terrain, or was it terrain and character? How far away can you reach? How far can you throw it? But a big thing was, what size of thing can you throw? And because obviously the bigger the thing, the more damage it does. However, now all collision damage is 3. So that doesn't matter if you are throwing a size 1 trash can or you are throwing the Sanctum Sanctorum. They both do a flat 3 damage. And again, that damage is then reduced by 1 for each success in the dodge roll. So that is a crit, a wild, or a block. And anything else if you count them, right? Some people might count failures, some people might count blanks or whatever else it may be. Again, I've been out of it. I don't know if there are people that count them, but any successes for that character. Which means for the most part, damage is going to be reduced significantly from collisions. Now, some people may see that as being a good thing. Other people may see that as being, I suppose some people may see it as a bad thing. For me, I'm not too concerned about whether it's good or bad. It's the thematic side of it, right? And I get that this is a game and it can be a co-op, it can be a competitive game, but ultimately, if you are strong enough to pick up and throw Dormammu at somebody, you would expect, again, in the confines of a comic book, that Dormammu hitting you, or a Sanctum Sanctorum hitting you, or a fire truck hitting you, is going to do more damage than picking up Rocket Raccoon and throwing him at you, or picking up a park bench, or picking up a trash can. And that's, for me at the very least, where I have a bigger problem with this. I think flatlining everything, whilst for ease and for consistency and for future proofing, makes it very, very easy, because now collision is just 1 damage. It also means that a lot of characters that relied on that collision damage, that throw damage, to really excel at what they do, or sometimes not even excel, but sometimes just be on par, it means that they're now paying a premium to be able to throw size X buildings. And yes, some people might not be able to throw them buildings, but ultimately they're not doing more damage. So I have a few problems. With it. So I wanted to break this down into the big losers and the big winners. And I'm calling them big losers and big winners. They're probably, just win adjacent and, loss adjacent. But I wanted to start and talk first of all, and I've actually picked a really bad example, but I also picked this example on purpose. So those characters that could throw size 3 terrain, because I think really where this is going to affect things more is on the terrain side of things. There are very, very few size 1 characters. I think there's only one, unless the new pig is size 2. Is size 1 as well. But very, very few things are a size 1. So, and most things in the game are size 2. So I think it's going to affect terrain more. I also think being able to throw a character, the damage sometimes is just a bonus. It's actually the displacement that's the most important thing. So sometimes, sometimes throwing a character, it's not about doing the damage. It's just about displacing them and getting them off the point. But I wanted to break down and take a look at the sort of size throws and what they have lost to kind of put it into some context. So for each of these examples, we're going to be using 3 physical defense because that is the average in the game. So the old damage, if Drax was to pick up a building and throw it at you and you had 3 physical defense, on average, he would be doing, or you would be taking 2.74 damage. The new damage you're going to be taking is 1.76. So nearly a point of damage difference. Now, you may look at that and go, Rich, it's only a point of damage. And I agree, it is only a point of damage. However, we speak a lot in this game how moving up or down one thing can really, really impact how viable or how unviable a particular character is. So getting an extra point of stamina, for example, this effectively means that everybody that Drax is fighting now has, in theory, one extra stamina against him, or he needs to do one extra point of damage because the Destroyer is going to do, on average, 1 point less damage. If we take a look then at the size 4 throwers. So again, we've got Mighty Thor. She's got her inner strength. And as you can see, it costs 3 power. Size 4. This is just terrain feature. Range 2, medium throw. Now, up until a week ago, again, against 3 defense, that would have done 3.73 damage in total, or on average, sorry. The new, again, is going to be 1.76. So doesn't matter what we're throwing. If they've got 3 dice, it's going to do 1.76. So now we're talking about nearly 2 points of damage difference. Now, we're getting into the realms where can we justify that this now costs 3 power? Now, everybody's been dropped down, so it is a level playing field for almost everybody. But the costing of these, especially for those characters that can only throw a size 2 or even size 3, right? If the points value or the cost, the power value, stays the same, it doesn't kind of feel right because, if I go back a second, well, Drax has only lost 0.98, so just under, and his costs are remaining the same. But Mighty Thor has lost almost double, in fact, pretty much double the amount of damage that she can do. So that's a bigger nerf to somebody like Mighty Thor than it is to somebody like Drax. And then if we look at somebody like Phoenix, where she can throw a size 5, right? So she can throw a size 5. In the past, that would have done 4.73 damage. And again now, it's only doing 1.76. And the difference is almost 3 damage. So I think one of the things that AMG need to look at are the points balance in the game, right? Sorry, the cost, the power cost for each of these. I'm less bothered about it on a trigger on an attack, but I'm more bothered about it on a cost to actually do something. We then get into a situation where some characters, not entire card, but a lot of what they do in their card is built around that collision damage, right? If we look at those other characters, it's only a small part of what they do. But actually, what about somebody like Apex Predator, where he has not only the throw, right? So choose an enemy character and throw it, but also his pounce as well. Now again, he's a size 3, so that would have been 4 damage coming in. It's now only 1. Now, you could argue that, well, he still gets the move out of the back of it, and I would agree. But is this still now worth 3 power when it's doing, on average, 1 damage less? I don't know. Only time will tell. But if we look at just those 2 superpowers that he could use, on average against 3 defense dice, this would have done 7.46 damage on average. It's now doing 3.52, so that 1.76 for each of them. He's losing nearly 4 damage in total from what he could do before. Now, and I'll get onto the other side of it at the other end, but I think when you look at characters like this, and there's a couple of others that have the same, but I think probably none to the extent that Sabretooth has. I think you need to start to look at, well, you need to be balanced out a little bit, is all I'm going to say. So I'll look at the big winners, because there are some big winners. Before we got into big winners, actually, I do want to also mention characters like Hulk, where throws are obviously a big part of what they do, especially off the back of the attacks and things like that. But big winners, well, first of all, it's your size 5s. Not only have all 3 of these characters had updates that make them significantly better, all of a sudden you are less concerned about somebody who can throw these being able to just pick them up and throw them and doing, have 6 incoming damage to one of your smaller characters. So a big win for, and what I'm talking specifically here about are the size 5 and not size 5 and bigger, because there are no bigger, but those size 5 characters. You could also argue that, if you're a size 4 as well, it's helped them out, but obviously it's helped size 5s out more than it has 4s. It's helped 4s out more than it has 3s. But you get my point, and you get what I mean here. So this is, what was a real detriment to them in the past. Now they're not as concerned about it. The other big winners that I really see, and I need to play test this, but I think there's a small group of characters, and again, I do apologise, there may be more than the ones that I bring up here, who are significantly going to benefit from this, and that is going to be the likes of Cable. And why? Well, he has something called Omega Level Threat. Basically, what I'm talking about here are those X cost throws, where you spend between 1 and X, and you can choose an interactive terrain feature of that size, right? So you spend 1, you can throw a size 1. Well, all of a sudden, Cable can spend 1 to throw a size 1 and do as much damage as if he'd spent 4 to throw a size 4. And why on earth would you spend the power to throw a size 4 building when you can spend 3 power less to throw a size 1 terrain piece and do the exact same amount of damage? So I think these guys are actually a big winner from this. And then the other one, and the obvious one, is obviously Magneto. And it's kind of a combo of this. But obviously Magneto is one of the at least few, if not only, character who has a interactive terrain throw that is a superpower that can be used multiple times per turn. So whereas, in the past, if he wanted to do the big damage, he had to spend the 4 power, he can now potentially throw a hell of a lot more than what he could and do a lot more damage with it. Because again, he spends 1 power, he picks up a size 1, he throws it, he does 3 damage. And he can do it again. He can spend 2, throw a size 1, do 3 damage, etc., etc. And then obviously the From the Ruins with his leadership. And, and whilst nothing has changed with the metal constructs because they were size 2 and they always did 3 damage, it still means that he's got a ready supply of them as well, whereas other characters don't. So I'm really, really excited to try Magneto out. I still don't think Magneto is good enough, but I think they are probably thinking about, before they make any big changes to Magneto, if they ever make them, they probably wanted to see how this played out first, which kind of makes sense with where they were with him in the game. I still think for 6 cost, probably a little bit underpowered, but of all the characters in the game, Magneto probably benefits from this one of the most. Other big winners are those very, very low physical defense characters, right? So I put the Ancient one up there, but that could really have been, the whole of Convocation. We all know throwing buildings at wizards, they don't like it. Doctor Strange, the OG Doctor Strange that had the big update where he can now re-roll for dodge as well, I believe. That's obviously a big help to him. But even so, in fact, actually, I think the Ancient one might be able to re-roll dodge dice as well. But just the fact that damage is now capped, it means that you're not going to be able to just, pick up somebody, throw them at Ancient one, and then do an attack and take her out. They're going to have that little bit more survivability. So any character with low defense is definitely a big winner. Low physical defense is definitely a big winner from this one. And then I'm going to talk about a strange one. And I think Black Cat was already too good. I'm going to be honest with you. And again, I do apologise. She might not be the meta anymore, but I can't see anything that's changed that's made her any worse. And, people often talk about Black Cat's movement, the Master Cat Burglar, the fact that she can stagger, right, on a Troublemaker. For 2 power, she can stagger somebody. She's got a long move. She's got stealth. But actually, the one thing that I think people sometimes overlook with Black Cat is bad luck. When targeting this character with attacks, enemy characters cannot modify their attack dice, and they do not roll additional dice for crits. This makes Black Cat exceptionally difficult to take down. Even though she only has 5 stamina, it makes her very, very tanky. Way more tanky than a 3 cost or a 3 threat with all of the other shenanigans that she has should be. So what was one of the ways of getting around things like bad luck? And again, I'm using Black Cat as the example. I'm sure there are others, but I think that combination of no modification and no crits is quite brutal. So you used to throw stuff at her. You could throw a couple of buildings at her or throw a character into her. Hey, guess what? You've managed to take her down. That, again, it's not guaranteed, but whatever you throw at her now, you will do on average 1.76 damage. Now you might get lucky and you do more, of course. You might get unlucky and do a lot less. So I think Black Cat is a big winner from this one. And then one that I'm not sure about, Hulkbuster, right? So the most that you can take from collision damage now is 3. If you have Hulkbuster, as your leader, the most you can ever take from collision damage is 2. Now, is that a good thing? I've put him in the big winners. As I said, it's a sliding scale of big winners. But is that a good thing? A throw's going to drop off to the point where actually this doesn't become a good thing? Because I think maybe not. I'm not sure. But I thought I'd put it in there because it was, really the only leadership in there that had anything to do with collision. Maybe if it was going to be good, it would have been good in the past. But I just thought it was, it was quite interesting. And there we go, guys. That is it in terms of sort of winners and losers and kind of initially what I wanted to talk about. And I think overall, as you can see, it's going to be a big impact on the game. It's going to significantly change the way in which some affiliations play. It's going to change the way in which some characters play. There's going to be there are some big winners, and there are some big losers, and then there's, some further into the middle. But the other thing I want to talk about and touch upon really quickly was a particular tactics card. And you can probably imagine what it is, and that is Brace for Impact. Brace for Impact, I would say, unless I'm in a team event and, cards are capped and things like that, Brace for Impact, I would say, over the past 2 years of playing this game, has been in, I would say, 90% of the rosters that I've made, and in 90% of the rosters that I've played against. Do we think now that this card is worth it anymore? Because you were kind of always, you didn't want to hold on to it for too long, but you knew that if you were coming up against a character who could pick up that size 4 building and throw it, or pick up a size 5 character and throw it at you, or even a size 3 character, that it was there as a clutch thing. Does it drop in value anymore? And I think the answer is probably yes. Most characters can just tank whatever is being thrown at them now, unless they're on very low health already, to the point where, is it even worthwhile being restricted anymore is the other question, because it's going to be so less impactful on the game. A card that I think we will see played more now, as one of the restricted cards, will be Indomitable. Because I think whilst it costs more, it's got, first of all, 2 use cases. So it's thrown or pushed, and it keeps that character where they are. And going back to what I said around how often the character throws are less about the damage and the more about the displacement, I think, Indomitable, easy for me to say, may end up being the preferred go-to card. But as always, guys, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are you happy with the changes? Are you indifferent? Are you really annoyed by them? Are you going to continue playing the old version of the rules in your little gaming groups, and only save the new versions for, you know, the tournaments and things like that? Really intrigued to know what everyone's feeling on this one, because I would probably say this has been, the change to throws is probably one of the biggest changes. Maybe the only other big one was how gems worked, or stones worked, infinity stems, infinity gems, infinity stones, how they worked. That had such a impact, overall impact on the game. Obviously, individual characters getting changed and things like that affect the game, but it's, you know, isolated to individual characters. But I think gems changing, and I think this is definitely up there, if not, you know, maybe the biggest change we've had to the game. So really interested to find out what you guys think. As always, I say as always, like for the first time in 6 or 7 months, let me know down in the comment section below what you think. I'm sure, depending on your play style, it's very much going to determine, or who you play, it's going to determine how happy or not happy you are about these changes. What have we got going on at the moment? Well, we are going to be doing a Christmas League. So we are going to be announcing on the Discord a MCP Christmas League in the next week or so. Probably less than a week, actually, because we want to get it in before Christmas. So check in the next couple of days over on the Discord. Link down in the description below. We do have a giveaway going on at the moment, but to find out those details, head back on over to the StarCraft video that I did before, and you can go and check that out. And yeah, if anyone fancies a game of MCP, hit me up on Discord, because I'm going to be playing more and more over the next few weeks. Still not found my way back into Shatterpoint. None of the updates and changes really excited me much about that game. I even considered selling my models the other week. Haven't quite done that yet, so we'll see. And I'm really happy to say that, as always, it leaves me with just enough time to say stay well, keep safe, and until next time, bye for now.